Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Process podcast. Today, we're going to talk to Anthony Pallison. Anthony is the head coach at Pallison Ltd. Limited and founder of Pallison Limited. He is a psychedelic friendly peak performer for ADHD preneurs, access to flow state on demand for optimal productivity. What does this all mean? Listen to his story. This is a discussion of someone who was considered a little bit scattered, who had learned to study the brain. And what does this all mean? It's going to be a fascinating conversation. Come join us. Anthony, welcome. Well, hey, Anthony, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to talk to you. So, what I did tell people is that you're basically a head coach, right? You do talk about flow, but really is the journey that you went on is all about discovering spiritually, um, physically, emotionally, what this apparatus we call our brain is all about. So, why don't you share some of that with us? That would be awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Gail. Well, I like to say that I take the engineering approach that engineers use to build and design things and solve problems, and I've applied it to the human mind and body. Of course, this is a lifelong work in development, but yeah, it's an integration of science as we have it today, but also with spirituality and belief, because science has not figured everything out. And the interplay of these two things can get to quite a lot of depth about figuring out why it is that people struggle with whatever they struggle with, and boil it down to a bunch of factors and create a map. Create a map, and if you work on all these factors, you'll solve the problem. And it's as simple as that.
And it is simple as that, right? As you were talking, I had this thought run around my brain that what if God was a genius mathematician and an incredible engineer?
I have had those thoughts. And I've been judged crazy for having those thoughts when I was in my bipolar manic
Mm.
phases. And since then, I have integrated them, and I can make sensible arguments for, yeah, why not? Uh, yeah, just a question of perspective. Uh,
Yeah, if you think about and honestly, these thoughts ran through my head as a child. These are not new thoughts to me, that we are a machine, an incredible, complicated, ingenious machine. And not just us humans, but we rely on Mother Earth. We rely on her oxygen. She relies on our carbon dioxide. We are interchange or interdependent, right? We rely on the food that she provides. She relies on what we give back after that. So, what an ingenious plan. Whoa.
Yeah, what a perfect creation. I mean, reality as it is, which only exists in the present, of course. The past is memories, the future is an illusion. So the present is just the result of everything that has ever existed doing the best that they can, or it can, following its programming, following its nature, and following the laws of physics. Whatever all the universal laws are, we're still trying to figure out how to unify everything. But yeah, the fact is there is an existence, there is a perception, and we are in it and perceiving it, and we are it. There is no separation.
Yes, and so this is science. I love the fact that science and um, spirituality, if you will, are starting to come together, right? And
Absolutely.
so all of the things, many things that 10 years ago people would have said you're crazy, are now saying, well, yeah, there's scientific evidence of this, even to the point of in school. What did you learn in junior high school? Everything is atoms, everything is made up of atoms, everything is made up of energy. It's just the density of that energy gives us the illusion of it being solid. And I can remember going, yep, that makes sense. Never once saying, well, that makes sense for me as well. Because
Yeah,
I am not part of everything else. Of course, it makes sense for me, right?
yeah.
So, how do you take the quantum physics part of it into your belief and into your business, into your life? And what are some of the things that you did to really address the diagnosis that you got that you decided was not going to be you and you were going to take care of it yourself?
Wow, yeah, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle.
Hmm.
So when it comes to working with other people, not everybody wants to or cares to go into the quantum physics level of things. Not everyone's interested in that or needs that level of depth and granularity. And that's something that a conversation can decide whether or not to move in that direction if we want to. Um, but for me personally, I was into it. I actually needed to understand it because I've always been a curious soul. I've wanted to go to the deepest depths. And by the time I got my bipolar diagnosis and I experienced psychosis, I experienced mania, I had already experienced a bunch of altered states. I had taken psychedelics many, many times, other substances as well. I had realized that there was a lot more to the world than what was filtered by my own mind and body. And I was always interested in nature documentaries and things like that. So when you know that bats are more attuned to vibrations using ultrasounds to figure out their positions, when you know that certain insects are seeing ultraviolets or infrareds that we don't, it makes it clear that there's so much information out there that we're just not processing. And if we're this limited, I mean, what does that mean about what defines us? And since it's very well known from the placebo effect and the nocebo effect that what we believe about something's influence on us can have either a positive or negative outcome, then this was hugely important to health. And so I didn't want to like try to trick my body into believing that I had something that I didn't have. Instead, I was always curious, like, why did I experience mania after this set of circumstances and not before? Why did I experience, all of these different things? And it was really about getting closer and closer to the truth as possible. And that's where the unfolding of my journey and continued work into spirituality and all that has helped me make a lot of sense of these things.
Yeah, of this existence, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
I I like that you're looking for truth. I think I got really violently curious about truth just before COVID, and COVID gave me the opportunity to dig deep, right, into saying, well, what if this was a lie? Well, what if this was a lie? And what if
Mm.
this was a lie? Everything. It's like, well, what? And so I started turning everything over and seeing the world completely different than
Mm.
how I was viewing it before, right?
Yeah.
And then integrating that. this is my curiosity with you, Anthony, because you've done a marvelous job with yourself and with your clients on how does that integration actually take place? Because that's what's key.
Yeah, I think it's all about being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. I think because there's a fundamental principle that we are all human beings, and so more or less to 99.9999 whatever percent, we function the same exact way. Like our
Mhm.
hearts beat the same, our lungs breathe the same, our brains shape in the same way. Now, what differs between us are where we were born, who we were born to, what childhood was like, and then what circumstances and skills that led to. But at the end of the day, we can recognize in each other emotions and meaningful experiences, and we can build bridges through communication and essentially translate whatever it is that someone is sharing about their struggles or their situation in life. And if one has been through enough situations, emotions, challenges, and overcome them, they can easily go, ah, yeah, that reminds me of in my life, the equivalent was this. Someone might struggle with weight, where someone else struggles with bipolar, or I've struggled with weight and bipolar, so I can relate to people on these two journeys.
Right.
Um, and so making connections to where they're at, what they've tried, what they haven't tried, what they know, and what they don't know. And you can easily chart a path to kind of go, all right, well, if I was an engineer trying to solve this problem, this is how I would do it. And there's actually a co-creation as well.
Mm.
As an engineer, I propose my plan. There's A, B, C, D things that we can look into. What do you feel? Is there anything missing, like an E or an F that I haven't thought about? And of these options, which one do you think would impact the most? And there's a co-creation that happens in order to determine the most efficient way to move forward.
It and that is so true. And people say, what tools do I use? Whatever tools my client needs, right? I have two right now. One, she's doing free form journaling and it's working wonders for her. She is starting to tap in through that. Another, journaling was not working for her. Meditation was not working for her, but tapping, bam,
Mm,
right? And so it's an exploration as to what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? It's an experiment,
yeah,
right? And so what do you do in the lab? You try, it blows up,
try.
you take some notes, you adjust, you try again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And every day is a new experiment. Even if you have the same schedule between Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday is unique because you've got up until Monday experience. And Wednesday is unique because you've got Monday and Tuesday experience, and so on and so forth. Every single day, every single moment, you are more experienced than you were just a moment ago. And this changes your brain every second, every day, every decision you make. And I think that's one of the major reasons that everything goes back to presence. Like the universe is a totally different universe right now than 1 minute ago.
Yep. Yeah. I had an epiphany, if you will. Again, it's something I understood but didn't know. And there's a difference between understanding and knowing. Knowing is visceral. You can feel it, right? And that is, you know, I've said for always as a coach, well, as a child, you're programmed up until the age of 8 or 9 with your beliefs, right? Whether it's religious, social, economical, whatever. We're programmed still every moment. We can reprogram in a second. we can erase and scratch old programming and put in new programming within an hour. I've done it,
Yeah.
right? And so I am programming you with my language. You are programming me with yours. That's the co-creation, right?
Yeah.
And in that programming process, how I receive what you are trying to download also has an impact. That's why it's co-creation on the programming that's going on. So, what are some of the things that changed when you started to remap and reprogram yourself?
Very good question. I think the deeper I get into it, the more I consider myself like a non-entity. Like there is no me. I used to be very, oh yeah, this is me, and I've got this job, and I've got these labels, and I've got this illness, and there are some things that I can do that might help with that illness, and so on and so forth. But as I move forward, I realize, every breath of air we take in and out is new molecules in our body. There's some science also that tells you at what rate of frequency your atoms will change in your body. The atoms in your bone will change more slowly than your stomach lining that renews every few days or whatever. But the point is, after a few years, even the atoms in your bone are going to change. So what you eat is constantly redefining you. And that's, for now, that's a very physical level thing. But when we take that concept and apply it to thoughts and beliefs, it's really the same thing. I've been learning to let go more and more of negative thoughts. I've been practicing gratitude now for just under a year, consistently every night before going to bed, minimum three, if not four, five, six points of what am I grateful for today. Even on a crappy day, grateful that I'm alive, grateful that there's sunshine or rain, whatever it may be. And probably the default negativity bias is 11 to 1 thoughts. I've tuned that ratio down.
Yeah.
It's harder. It is noticeably harder to think negative thoughts. And that's just the constant gratitude, constant meditation, more exercise. And more, I'm realizing actually this body of mine is just like a portal through which there are things that are channeling, and that results in me taking actions. But that is so less in my conscious control than it is just following, we could say biology if we want to be on the scientific side, or we could say divine guidance if we want to be on the spiritual side. But at the end of the day, it's like two strands of a DNA. They work with one another.
Yep. Yeah. There's so much like running through my mind right now. Uh, so the constant change, the constant renewal, um, and it not being the I that you think you are. One of the what I'm starting to post about and talk about more frequently is the fact that I am not a sum total of my past if I choose not to identify with it. I can learn from it, like we do change from it, but I
Mm.
am not the spoiled child. I am not the abused child. I am not the rape victim. I am not the alcoholic. I am not the whatever, right? If I choose not to identify with an event, then the event just happened, period.
Mm.
And I can leave it in the time frame in which it happened and take the experience and do with it as I want,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I think as humans, we have been taught to identify. with an external event or an external thing. Like, I don't even like calling myself, I don't call myself a coach. I'm now calling myself the alchemist because no one knows what that means, right? So they can't really put me in a box, right? And it's not that I don't want to be in a box. You and I and everybody is so much more than the artist, so much more than the analyst, so much more than the bookkeeper, so much more than the cab driver, so much more than what we identify with. That if we just took that identity out and just put it where I function as this is what I'm going to do this minute, but when I walk away, I'm not doing it anymore, right? You're not doing it anymore. You're not doing it when you're sitting at the kitchen table,
Yeah.
right?
Well, language by its very nature is limited. It's a model. When I say the tapestry in the background is green, there's actually 50 shades of green in there.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's just a quick way for you to understand what I'm talking about. But actually, reality, the universe, including you, and all your thoughts and behavior are wordless. The only reason to use words is to communicate to someone about them in order for a greater purpose. Like, I am struggling with procrastination. Ah, okay, so now that helps me build a bridge between your situation and your problem and maybe how I can help you with that.
Mhm.
But otherwise, it just is.
It just is. And um, one of the things that I struggle with is I get downloads, but I don't get spoken to. I get impressions, I get feelings. And my brain's responsibility is to interpret those into language if I want to share that experience with someone. In the process of interpreting, I lose some of the richness. In the process
Yeah,
of you receiving that interpretation, you lose some of the richness,
yeah,
right? And so it really um, behooves me to communicate as clearly as I can so you can get as much juiciness as I've received as possible for the
yeah,
experience of the information that I get, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it needs that communication also needs to be adjusted or filtered towards a particular kind of audience. I mean, different audiences will receive different messages. And we all, you know, I'm a big believer that we all get what we need when we need it. So sometimes there are things that are beyond what beyond where we need to be in terms of the information that we need to receive. Let's say somebody has never had the experience of completely dissolving the boundaries between one's body and the entire universe. I've had that experience plenty of times, but if you haven't had that lived experience of just the state of brain, the state of consciousness where your body and the environment is dissolved and there is no separation and you just feel at one with everything that is, it's just become something that is theoretically possible because somebody has told you that they've had that experience. But until you have that experience, it doesn't lock in to your belief system and into your nervous system and into your cells.
That's the difference between knowing and understanding. Understanding is mental. I can,
Yeah.
I can conceptualize, I can maybe even have some empathy, but knowing is you own it. It's within your DNA. Your DNA has changed because you know,
Mm,
and your DNA does change.
it does.
It does.
Fascinating new field of epigenetics. If anyone has not heard, there are two big things that influenced my beliefs around mental health. A, neuroplasticity, which a lot of more people know about than epigenetics. But number two, epigenetics, the fact that our environment and our lifestyle has an influence and can change our genetic expression. To me, this means we are transformers. We can literally choose what we want to become. And if we keep focused on that and take the actions that lead towards that, we can change our nervous system and our genetics in order to become that.
We can heal ourselves in many ways, which you have. You have healed
I,
something that the medical profession has said is unhealable.
I mean, now the experiment is gonna last the rest of my life.
Hmm.
I had my last manic episode 6 years ago, and it's taken me 4 or 5 years to progressively wean off my medication. And I've been off of medication almost for a year now, and no problem at all. But because I've accessed some traumas that were way, way back, and I've shed some tears that were locked into my nervous system from when I was a little kid, and I've had some understandings now about what else was contributing to it,
Right.
and I live a much healthier lifestyle. And all of these factors, now the test is it going to happen again or not? And at one point or another, when can you say that somebody has healed from a mental illness? Let's say if they haven't had any symptoms for 20, 30, 40 years, does that count? Well, that's one data point. But then the more and the more and the more people that actually manage to achieve that result, the more we can get close to a theory that, oh, this mental illness is actually healable. It just takes a lot of deep work. And I'm
Yeah.
here to at least be one data point or get to the truth about why it might not be the case. Either way, it's a fun science experiment, and I'm going to do the best to put the odds in my favor to be as healthy as I can and,
And I love
not go
that.
through my biggest pain.
It's fun. It's fun. This is my biggest, I mean, joy, 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 joy. If it's not fun, then why bother? Why bother? I would say that my most success is when I'm having fun. When I was a leader, I would say to my team when there was a new something, oh, you're gonna love this. It's gonna be so much fun. And they all went, oh, no, no, it really is. Right. And yes, it meant hard work, and they knew that, but it also meant we are going to make something different. We are going to create something. And that was exciting. That is exciting, right? To and creation isn't always something solid that you can see,
Yeah,
right? We're creating right now. We're co-creating each other. We're learning from each other, and I'm changing you and you're changing me, right? Isn't that just delicious? Isn't that just awesome?
absolutely. Yeah. And
Yes.
when somebody listens to this, they download something from a shift in time, just
Yes.
an emanation of energy and vibration that happened at some point somewhere, but they can just tune into it now thanks to technology. I mean, how incredible is that?
No, I know. Yes, technology. I complain about you all the time when you don't work, but I celebrate you when you do. Right.
Yes,
Right. I don't
yes.
take you for granted ever.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and so you have created a business around what you have learned about yourself. And so let's talk a little bit um, where it's ethical, about some of the clients that you have been able to show their way of mapping out a change for themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of ADHD entrepreneurs that I tend to work with, and even if they haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, in today's modern world, everybody's got a little bit of the symptoms of
Yeah,
ADHD. And
yeah,
that's partly a societal and technological problem. We just have way too much stuff to pay attention to. I mean, we did not evolve, and our biology was not adapted to screens, notifications, constant buzz of dopamine, etc., etc. And so I take them through a process of learning the skills to get into a flow state based on productivity neuroscience. And it's really basic, actually. You don't need a degree in neuroscience or biology. Just high school biology is fine. And actually, I dream and I'd like to see and I'd like to contribute to co-creating a world where flow is taught in schools. Um, but yeah, it helps clients realign their understanding of themselves and their habits based on first principles, based on, it's not this tool is going to work for some people but not others. No, it's a principle that adapts based on who you are. So if you're a morning person, you'll do this. If you're an evening person, you'll do the opposite. So it doesn't
right.
matter where you land, the principle still applies. And once those realignments are made, you can just get so much more efficiencies with zero extra efforts
In
and
fact, less effort.
less efforts. Yeah, less efforts. Like the extra effort that it takes to learn it is immediately compensated for within the next day. It's that simple because it's all about getting more aligned with our biology.
You know, flow has, first of all, flow is a natural state. So, we all get into flow. It's whether or not we trust the information we receive when in flow that determines whether or not we utilize its benefits, right? I was, which as I look back, an inflow leader. I trusted my instinct. I never questioned it. And I couldn't understand how other people couldn't see what I could obviously see, right? I mean, it's right there. How can you not know? Um, but so a little factoid, which I've used many times, is when I'm teaching flow to leaders, I start with, do you know that the Navy SEALs spend millions of dollars looking for one person who can get into a flow state? Do you know the Special Forces spends millions of dollars looking for a person who can get into a flow state? Why do these special branches, and then many of the special branches do this? What is a flow state when it comes to those? It is the ability for an individual to become part of the collective organically. Because when they're on maneuvers, there is no leader, there is only the team, the collective, because they don't know what they're going to come against. And they have to know how to act as one, not with a leader, but as one. And that's the key to their success, right? And so if these men can get into flow, then I certainly can. And so can you, and reap its benefits. And flow, you were talking about fun. Flow happens when you're playing.
Yeah,
It is
definitely.
absolutely organic. You go out and I had a client that we would swing on the swing because she loved to swing. And then we'd sit down and lay down and look at the sky, and then we'd start our coaching session. right? Why not?
Why not?
Why
Yeah,
not? Yeah, why not?
we
Yeah,
we need more body-based activities in a society that's very biased towards the mind. We've gone from hunting and gathering and being outside all day to now a lot of the times being stuck in cubicles, offices, sitting on a chair all day, looking at computer screens. When we're not on screens, we're looking at our computers, we're looking at phones, and we just have so much of our lives that's drawing from the mind, the mind, the mind. Um, the human being is meant to be balanced, and flow is also finding better balance that leads to more efficiency.
absolutely. I worked for an organization that would have, well, I'll talk about one of the things that I did, but they would have annually like an event, and the event was games, like the egg tossing games, the pie eating games, right, the dunking in the water. It was hilarious, hilarious. I can remember one year the guy who said he would eat the blueberry pie, stains everywhere, right? He would. I thought he was gonna. I was gagging watching him. I'm like, it's okay if we don't win. It's okay if we said no, we're gonna win. Like, oh, it's okay, it's okay, right? Right?
Oh,
No one will
wow.
blame you. Please stop, right? But it was just so much fun, and that helped the team bond as
Yeah.
a cohesive one.
Hmm.
That's what bonding is all about. In another organization, I used to bring my team once a month down to play games. I would get a conference room, close the door, whatever they wanted to play. A lot of times it was Pictionary, so it would be drawing and laughing. And I would play until we were snort laughing. Right? One of those, you're like,
Sounds
oh, your
wonderful.
belly hurts, the whole 9 yards. Then I would have a creative brainstorming meeting and record it because the ideas would come so fast we couldn't take notes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
flow.
that's a great example of balancing sensory inputs and mental recovery and focusing on a problem and then taking your mind off of it and then coming back, kind of leveraging that convergent and divergent thinking, focused and creative. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
beautiful.
incredible how many tools we have when we have the knowledge. Uh, we can just play with these tools and we can optimize for different things.
Yeah,
You know, do you want to optimize for creative problem solving, or do you want to optimize for deep analytical work? You know,
they both
you have
work.
access to both of these two things.
Right, right, right. And they all work best from a flow state. And yes, you can get into that state through meditation for some people. Honestly, there was a time where I would meditate 3 times a day, which meant once in the middle of the day while at work. I would go in the ladies' room and close the door. People probably thought I had a problem, right? Because I'd been there for about 15 minutes, right? Just getting into that state, right? I can't tell you, I just, I can't even explain how amazing my life was during that time. Nothing bothered me. Nothing
Yeah,
bothered me. And nothing bothers me now. I might have a
yeah,
moment of, ooh, and then I'm like, oh, that was interesting. And that's it. Where other people would, they actually look and say, oh, I'm so sorry that this happened. I'm like, why are you sorry for something that happened to me that I'm fine with? What, I don't understand that. I never say to someone anymore, I'm sorry that you're going through this. I will say, let me know if I can support you. But I'm not
yeah.
sorry you're going through anything that's going to teach you something,
Yeah, it's a great perspective.
right?
Gonna
Right.
steal that.
Go ahead, take it. Go
Gonna
ahead.
download and integrate that.
Yes, download and integrate that, right? And I think my observation of the conversation with you is that that is what you have done for yourself, and that is what
Yeah.
you work with others to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually what you said about um there's a teacher to everything, you know, every difficult experience, or even if it's not necessarily difficult, you know, there are lessons that are for you in every experience that you go through. And it's led me to create a performance productivity philosophy that is also a pathway to do inner work. And it more or less is about being in constant alignment with your long-term goals, your long-term vision, your lifestyle that you want to lead, and bringing it back to all of the steps that you need to take in order to get there, and what actions you're doing today in order to get there. And with everything that is even slightly misaligned, like if I have a 5 minute break before a meeting and I accidentally check Instagram, but I wasn't meant to because I know I don't want to get my head in Instagram space, then that moment becomes a lesson for me to look more deeply into what is it about the environment or what is it about the situation that led me to believe that I wanted to check Instagram rather than just sit and meditate or sit and do breath work or get a glass of water. And those little incremental bits and pieces that you can find throughout your day, they will compound and they will lead to lessons. And if you can learn those lessons and if you can integrate them, you will have a better tomorrow, and you'll keep finding more and more efficiencies and be in greater and greater alignment with the vision that you have.
absolutely. So the vision, making choices today based on the vision, for me, I've always said, what choices would you be making if you had already achieved your goal? Is this the
Yeah.
choice you would make? And I'll give a really easy example. I was talking with a woman who really struggled with weight, and she's like, "Oh, I had a handful of M&Ms yesterday, and now I'm going to pay for it." I said, "Okay, so can we shift your mindset and your focus on that? Do you trust yourself and do you trust your body?" She said, "Well, yes." I said, "So what if you say, with before every time you pick up a glass of to drink or food or whatever, look at it and say, I always make healthy choices for my body." I said, maybe you needed a sugar rush yesterday. Those M&Ms could be a healthy choice for your body, but because of your mindset, you're now taking that energy and you're making it fat because
Mm,
of your mindset, right? So look at everything and don't say no, but I always make healthy choices for my body. And then eat whatever you want because you'll start making healthy choices for your body all the time. And your body will
yeah.
process the food in a healthy way.
Mm,
Simple,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. So this is programming your mind, which is responsible for managing the movie Inside Out. Your mind is responsible for managing your body.
Mm,
Great little movie. I love it. Right?
yeah.
It's all those little characters, they all play a role, right? And by the way, I have all those voices in my head, as does everyone else. They're your board of directors.
Yeah.
Right? Right. So if you had a nugget of wisdom to share with people, what would that be?
Oh, what kind of people? The world or a specific population?
The people who care about evolving and getting out of what they've been programmed to believe is true.
My words of wisdom would be try everything. Try try everything that you can. I mean, as many prioritize diversity of activities and experiences over the same thing. And just a quick example, a lot of people like to travel. If you have the choice between visiting the US and Europe, or Asia and Africa, pick Asia, Africa, because it's going to be more different than US, Europe. And same thing, explore spirituality, explore all the spiritual traditions that you can that resonates, explore all leisure activities, you know, adrenaline, sports, camping, movies, theaters, everything. Get enough of a taste of the world to really, really be clear on what it is you want to build, what it is you want your life to be like. Because once you do have that vision, then everything everything sort of comes into place. And your body and your intuition is guiding you in that direction. Um, I guess it boils down to take the leap.
Right.
If there's a little voice that says, "Oh, I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm scared," ignore that voice and try, give it a shot, and then see where you land. Because,
Yeah.
if there's a set of skills to learn, you can learn the set of skills. If there are circumstances in life that you need to create, you can create them. And if there is healing that needs to be done, you can heal it. I mean, I've seen so many miracle stories of people who've had incurable diseases as per the medical system, um, going to do shamanic experiences and then recovering from those incurable illnesses. So we really are not limited by anything, pretty much. And yeah, take the leap and try different things.
I love it. I love it. So, just a quick, a little bit scary. So, I, at this point in my life, have no home and living out of my car and driving around the country.
Sounds wonderful.
Up, you right? And when I decided I was going to do that, I was scared. I was like, what are you going to do? But the moment I started making preparations to, well, here's what I need to do, like Goodwill, you're making out like a bandit. Here's all my stuff. Maybe sell a couple of things, throw a bunch of stuff, like downsize. Doing that activity of actually getting there took all of the fear away and replaced
Yeah.
it with excitement.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a big overlap between fear and excitement. And one
Same
of the
parallel.
teachings from flow is you can flip fear into excitement with a mindset
Yep.
shift,
Yep.
quite simply.
Yep.
I had
Absolutely.
a yeah,
So if
I had a
someone
very
wants, oh, go
similar
ahead.
thing. No, I was just going to relate to the car experience. For me, it was a couple of years ago, and actually, the seed that I planted was 8 years ago when I went to my first music festival and first camping experience. I came out of it totally transformed, and that's what led me to entrepreneurship, because I wanted to free up time and energy so that I could go to more festivals. And a couple of years ago, I was able to basically spend a whole summer going from one festival to the next. I went to 11 different events. I was living in a tent from the end of May until early September. And the first month, it was the scariest experience of my life, because I had uh, one suitcase, one big backpack, one small backpack, everything on my bag, and just using public transports, going from one event to the next. And it was so hard physically and mentally, and it was scary. And after a month of it, it started shifting. I started embodying that, wow, I was scared, but now I'm doing it. And I've been doing it for a month, and it's no longer so scary. And this is actually the best experience of my whole life. And
Ah,
so no regrets,
no regret.
it's absolutely amazing. And this is one of the things of flow as well. When we push ourselves to our limits and we realize that our limits was not our limits, we can grow more and we experience more flow by pushing that limits. And that's an edge to play with as well.
Yep, that we are literally limitless. So, Anthony, if people wanted to get in touch with you and find out more about what you do, maybe work with you, how would they do that?
Best place to go is on my website, which is my last name. So www.palacin, palacin.co.uk. And from there, you can connect with me on social medias if you want, or just, yeah, receive emails and so on and so forth, whatever's up on there.
It's fantastic. Yes. And all of that will be in the show notes as a synopsis of our conversation as well. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you, everybody. This is Gail from the Empowering Process podcast. If you like this, give us a thumbs up. If you know someone who could benefit from it, and I'm sure you do, share it out. And as always, be sure to subscribe so you know when the next episode is available. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Empowering Process podcast. Be sure to visit Gail at gailcraft.com to learn more about how she serves thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and goal seekers. And remember, if you like this broadcast, be sure to share and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.